Today, I want to talk about one of the most powerful transformations you can ever make in your life: focusing on yourself. We live in a world that's constantly pulling us in every direction: opinions, trends, comparisons, and distractions. But here's the truth. The moment you stop seeking approval and start investing in yourself, you become unstoppable. Focusing on yourself is often misunderstood. Society sometimes labels it as selfish, self-centered, or even arrogant. But the reality is far from that. Self-focus is not about ignoring others or believing you're better than anyone else. It's about recognizing that your well-being, your growth, and your purpose matter. It's about understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give your best to the world if you're constantly drained, distracted, or disconnected from your true self. When you focus on yourself, you begin to take responsibility for your life. You stop blaming circumstances or other people for where you are. You stop waiting for someone to save you or validate you. Instead, you become your own motivator, your own coach, your own guide. You start setting goals that align with your values, not someone else's expectations. You become more intentional with your time, your energy, and your choices. This kind of focus builds self-awareness. You begin to notice your habits, your thought patterns, and your triggers. You learn what lifts you up and what drags you down. You stop settling for things that don't serve your growth, whether it's a toxic relationship, a dead-end job, or a self-limiting belief. Instead, you start creating space for what truly matters: personal development, peace of mind, and a sense of purpose. Focusing on yourself also brings clarity. It helps you tune out the noise and tune into your intuition. You stop living reactively and start acting deliberately. You make fewer impulsive decisions and more thoughtful ones. You're no longer controlled by the fear of missing out or the pressure to fit in. You become grounded, calm, and confident, not because everything is perfect, but because you know who you are and what you're building. Most importantly, when you focus on yourself, you give yourself permission to grow. You allow yourself to evolve, to fail, to learn, and to rise again. You stop fearing change and start embracing it. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your progress becomes your quiet power. People may not understand your silence, your boundaries, or your discipline, but in time they will see the results. And those results will speak louder than any explanation ever could. Silence is often underestimated in a world that glorifies noise, opinions, and constant updates. Yet, silence holds a power that words often cannot express. It's not the absence of thought or action. Rather, it's a space where clarity is born, where growth begins, and where strength is built. Silence allows you to listen not just to others, but to yourself. In the quiet, you begin to hear your true voice beneath the layers of doubt, fear, and societal pressure. In silence, there is focus. It becomes easier to separate what matters from what doesn't. When you stop responding to every distraction or reacting to every challenge, you conserve your energy. That energy is then redirected toward what truly deserves your attention: your goals, your growth, your peace. There is wisdom in not always having to speak, not always having to explain, defend, or prove something. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is to say nothing and let your progress speak for itself. Silence also cultivates discipline. When you don't announce every plan or broadcast every ambition, you eliminate the pressure to perform for others. You begin to work for yourself, not for applause. That quiet grind, the effort you put in when no one's watching, that's where real transformation happens. While others are talking about what they're going to do, you're doing it. While others are seeking attention, you're building in the shadows. Moreover, silence teaches patience. It's the strength to sit with discomfort without rushing into distractions. It's the ability to observe without reacting, to endure without complaining, and to wait without giving up. This kind of inner stillness becomes a powerful tool. It helps you respond rather than react. Move with intention rather than impulse, and make decisions with clarity rather than emotion. In the face of criticism or doubt, silence can be your armor. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're focused. It shows maturity, self-control, and a deeper understanding of what truly matters. Not everything needs a response. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Sometimes the best way to rise is to stay silent, stay working, and let your results do the talking. That's the strength that silence brings, a quiet force that no one sees coming, but everyone eventually notices. Comparison is one of the most common yet harmful habits we fall into, often without even realizing it. In a world filled with curated social media highlights, constant status updates, and competitive environments, it's easy to look at someone else's life and feel like we're falling behind. But the truth is, comparison is a distraction, one that quietly pulls your focus away from your own path and places it on someone else's. It shifts your attention from progress to perception, from purpose to pressure. When you compare yourself to others, you're judging your behind the scenes by someone else's highlight reel. You forget that what you see is only a fraction of their reality, their successes, their looks, their lifestyle. All of it is filtered through a lens of perfection. And yet, we measure our worth against it, causing unnecessary stress, self-doubt, and insecurity. Comparison makes you believe you're not good enough, even when you're growing. It tells you that your pace is too slow, your dreams are too small, or your story is less valuable. But in truth, everyone is on a different timeline, and there's no universal clock for success or happiness. Focusing on others also robs you of presence. Instead of appreciating where you are, what you've accomplished, or how far you've come, you're consumed by where someone else is. It keeps you chasing someone else's definition of success rather than creating your own. You stop listening to your own intuition and start copying what you think works for others. But the more you try to be like someone else, the more disconnected you become from your own identity. Comparison also steals joy. Achievements feel smaller, progress feels slower, and life feels less fulfilling when you're always looking sideways. But when you focus inward, you begin to see your unique journey for what it is: valuable, purposeful, and worth celebrating. You begin to compete with the only person who truly matters, your past self. Breaking free from comparison doesn't mean ignoring others. It means learning from them without losing yourself. It means cheering for someone else's success while staying loyal to your own path. When you tune out the noise and return your focus to your growth, your values, and your vision, you regain control. That's when progress becomes real and peace becomes possible. In today's world, attention is currency. People chase likes, views, and followers as if popularity is the highest form of success. But while attention may come quickly, it fades just as fast. Discipline, on the other hand, is what builds something real, something lasting. Discipline is the quiet force that keeps you going when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, and when the excitement wears off. It's what separates those who start strong from those who finish strong. Attention is loud. It's visible, immediate, and often addictive. It feels good to be noticed, to be praised, to be recognized, but that feeling is temporary. Attention doesn't guarantee progress. It doesn't make you better, more skilled, or more fulfilled. In fact, chasing attention can distract you from doing the actual work. It can make you focus more on how things look than on how well they're done. It can lead you to take shortcuts for the sake of applause, rather than build with integrity and patience. Discipline, on the other hand, is quiet. It's not glamorous. It doesn't always feel good in the moment. But it's consistent. Discipline is waking up early when you'd rather sleep. It's showing up when you don't feel like it. It's sticking to your routine, your standards, and your goals, even when nobody else understands why. Over time, discipline compounds. The effort you put in each day, the small decisions you make, the habits you maintain, All of it adds up to real growth and real results. The truth is, attention can come to anyone. You can go viral for something meaningless. You can gain a crowd by being loud. But if you haven't built yourself through discipline, that spotlight will expose your weaknesses, not your strengths. Discipline is what keeps you grounded when attention comes. And it's what keeps you moving forward when attention doesn't. Those who rely on attention often burn out or fade away. But those who rely on discipline continue to rise quietly and steadily. Their work speaks for itself. Their results last. Because when the noise dies down and the spotlight shifts to someone else, it's discipline that remains. It's discipline that builds character, skill, and true success. And in the long run, it always beats attention. Growth is often misunderstood as something dramatic or public, an event that others witness and applaud. But in reality, true growth happens in private, away from the spotlight, when no one is watching. It takes place in the quiet hours of early mornings, in the late nights of self-reflection, and in the moments when you choose progress over comfort. Growth is not loud. It is personal, subtle, and often invisible to the outside world until it becomes undeniable. In private, you're free to be honest with yourself. You confront your flaws, your fears, and your failures without judgment. This is where change begins, not with perfection, but with awareness. You learn your patterns, your weaknesses, and your triggers. You start replacing bad habits with better ones, not for praise, but for peace. This process requires patience and persistence. No one claps for you when you read a book instead of scrolling your phone, when you go to the gym after a long day, or when you say no to what doesn't serve you. But these choices, repeated over time, shape who you become. Private growth is also deeply personal. It's where you redefine success for yourself. It's where you set goals based on your values, not society's expectations. You begin to build self-respect through discipline and self-trust through consistency. These inner shifts are more powerful than any external achievement because they create a foundation that doesn't crumble when life gets hard. Most people won't see the nights you spent doubting yourself but kept going anyway. They won't see the pain you turned into purpose or the battles you fought silently within. But all of it matters, all of it adds up, and eventually, the results will speak for themselves. The confidence you carry, the peace you feel, the strength you've built, it all comes from the unseen effort you've invested when no one else was looking. When growth finally becomes visible to the world, people may think it happened overnight. But you'll know the truth. You'll know the long, lonely road you walked to get there. That's the power of private growth. It doesn't demand recognition. It doesn't beg for attention. It simply transforms you from the inside out until you're unrecognizable even to yourself. Intentions are powerful. They're the starting point of every great idea, every bold ambition, and every meaningful goal. But intentions alone are not enough. The world isn't moved by what you plan to do. It's moved by what you actually do. You can talk about your dreams all day long, but until you turn those dreams into results, it's just noise. People don't remember what you said you were going to do. They remember what you did. That's why you should focus less on announcing your plans and more on executing them. Let your results speak so loudly that there's no need for explanation. Talking about your intentions can feel productive. It gives you a sense of momentum, a temporary feeling of accomplishment. But that feeling fades if it isn't backed by action. Worse, it can create pressure to live up to words that were never supported by work. The truth is, real progress doesn't need a spotlight. It needs discipline, consistency, and grit. The late nights, the sacrifices, the setbacks you push through, those are the things that lead to meaningful change. And most of that happens in silence. When you stop trying to impress others with what you're going to do, you free yourself to focus on actually doing it. You stop chasing approval and start chasing excellence. You no longer rely on recognition to stay motivated. Instead, your motivation comes from within, from a deep commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. That shift in focus is powerful. It transforms your mindset from performance to progress. The world will eventually take notice, not because you shouted your goals from the rooftops, but because you stayed focused when others were distracted. Because you showed up when it was hard, because you kept your head down and your standards high, and when the results come, and they will, they'll speak for themselves. They'll silence the doubts, quiet the critics, and shock the people who never saw it coming. Intentions are easy. Action is hard, but action is what changes lives. So don't waste your energy trying to convince the world of what's coming. Spend it building something real. Work in silence. Stay consistent. And when your time comes, let the results do the talking. That's how you shock the world.